Hey guys, welcome to week 8. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about inquiry and why it's important. We'll be doing a little reflection on A2, which you all just turned in, and we'll go over some of the guidelines and requirements for A3. So this is a model by now you should be pretty familiar with. It's just emphasizing that writing is like a conversation. We talked about this in the first day of class and we'll continue to do so. You wouldn't really go up to a group of people and start talking before you've listened to the conversation. And then once you join, you've listened, and then you might go in and expand on that conversation. So that being said, now that we have wrapped things up with A2, you are all going to be immersed in a new conversation through research and writing. So you can choose any issue within our course theme that is exigent and focused. And if you choose the same issue that you wrote about in A2, you must do more research and consider it from a different perspective. Ultimately, you'll be using your research to write an argument for a specific audience. So, one thing that I think will really help you guys start brainstorming what you'll want to write about for this assignment is to make a list of all the issues that you are aware of that are associated with our class theme. So the theme is the healthy state, and you might consider further researching some of the issues that you come up with in this list. So write down absolutely everything that you can think of. And I've listed some examples here. So focusing research through inquiry. Inquiry is an act of asking for information. So refined questions can help us develop our knowledge and ideas about a certain topic. It shows curiosity because it asks, what do you want to know about this issue? And it helps you explore different frames of an issue. So it might help you gain a different perspective on a topic that you thought you initially had one perspective on. So the beginning of an argument is often starting with a good inquiry question. So something that maybe you wondered at first about this topic, like how much does the FDA regulate nutritional supplements? And then you use that as a launching point for your research and help you, based on your research, decide that maybe it's not doing enough regulation of these supplements and that there needs to be more regulation. So then that would be your research argument, essentially, that the FDA needs to do more regulation on nutritional supplements. And this all stemmed from your inquiry question, which was broad enough for you to reach your own conclusion about this issue and learn more about it. So that being said, it's really important to ask good research questions. So what are good questions? What do they do? What are the qualities of them? I compiled a little list here to guide you guys when you're forming these questions. So they reflect curiosity. They tell you what you want to know and don't already know about the topic. They are open-ended. They have multiple answers and they are debatable. They're focused and clearly stated. They invite conversation, so they look for sources that have multiple perspectives. And then to focus that inquiry question, you can use this as a guide. So there's typically a theme or a subject, which is pretty broad, something like, health, which is our course theme, or in this example, food. And then you want to think about a topic. So maybe that's something a little more specific, but still broad enough to where there are subtopics and issues and so on. So a topic would be something like mental health or food consumption or the distribution or production of food. So things that, aren't super specific yet, but they're starting to narrow it down a bit more. And then there's the issue, which is the nutritional value or lack thereof of fast food. And that's an example. So these are typically where there are points of disagreement or uncertainty that are being discussed in an active conversation. So, back to the example that I was talking about. The topic could be supplements, and then the issue or the point of disagreement would be, is there enough FDA regulation on nutritional supplements? So that would be the inquiry question. So it's a narrow question that is going to help focus your research and, help you build your whole argument off of this question. So using the list that you generated earlier, I want you to practice focusing themes, topics, and issues into inquiry questions. So choose 2 to 3 topics or issues from the list, and for each, consider 1 to 3 inquiry questions that you might ask. And then remember our criteria for inquiry questions. They should reflect curiosity, they're open-ended, they're stated clearly, and they invite conversation. So it also requires identifying an issue. So close and critical reading of conversations within our class theme. So that may mean that you'll be reading a lot of articles from our Review Reader that are dealing with the topic you're interested in. And then asking good questions about that issue that you're genuinely interested in. And remember that genuine inquiry should mean that you don't already know a ton about this subject. It should be a real exploration. You should be doing research, and that should be the basis of all of your knowledge on this topic. So A3, as we said, let me go over the requirements for that now, but that is going to be due on November 20th. So you have a little over a month. You have about a month and 2 weeks to do this assignment. And it's 20% of your total course grade, so it's worth quite a bit of your grade. That is because it's the most large assignment that you will be doing in this class, and it's heavily research-based. Now, we'll be going over this in more detail later on, but I want you guys to have a general idea of what this is going to encompass. So in this unit, you'll explore how the rhetorical situation influences argument, and then you'll use that knowledge to inform your own work. So what this means is that you're going to be creating an academic research argument, pressing an issue related to our theme of health and well-being. So you'll ask questions to do your research and seek out multiple perspectives, and then you'll create your own contribution to this conversation through your own unique claim. As a class, we're going to work together to support each other's writing through peer review, so please pay attention to the upcoming draft deadlines that will precede the final deadline of November 20th, and this should say November 20th. I apologize for that typo there. So the purpose of this assignment is to convince your audience to accept your claim. To do this, you'll need to think carefully about the argument that you make, what research you use to support that argument, and the audience to whom you'll write and how you'll appeal to that audience. So the audience for this essay is a stakeholder group of your choice based on your research. Your audience must have a vested interest in this issue and must therefore be a logical choice for directing your claim, meaning they must be able to take the kind of action that you want them to take, because ultimately in a research argument, we don't just want to inform our audience, we want to persuade them to do something, to take some kind of action. So your genre for this assignment is going to be a 15 to 1800 word MLA style, thesis-driven, research-based, argumentative essay plus a works cited page. And no, the works cited page does not count towards the word count requirement. This is going to look like 6 to 7 pages worth of writing plus your works cited page. And then the requirements are listed below here. You can go 10% over the maximum word limit without impacting your grade. You should be directing your argument to a stakeholder group who is capable of achieving the purpose of your argument. You need to demonstrate awareness of who your audience is through appropriate audience appeals, which we've talked about, the logos, ethos, and pathos. How are you appealing to emotions and logic? And then you'll also need to support your reasons with credible and relevant evidence directed to your intended audience. This is a research argument after all. It's going to be heavily research-based. You'll need to include at least 4 sources, both popular and scholarly. And if you don't know what that means right now, we will go over it more later on. But ultimately, your resources will need to offer varying perspectives and need to be synthesized appropriately. Your paper should address at least one established audience concern or objection, meaning what is the counter argument? What does the other perspective on this issue look like? So if there are people who are against abortion, then what does the pro-life perspective say? And how do they support that perspective? So this is something that you're going to want to consider and develop in your own writing with evidence to support it. Paraphrase, quote, and explain source material appropriately for your specific audience. That means when you drop a quote in there from whatever your research source is, you'll need to explain that quote and make sure that your audience knows how it's relevant to your overall claim. You'll need to include your works cited page at the end with full citations for all sources, along with corresponding in-text citations within the body of the paper. You'll also want to make sure you're following MLA format, so that means that it needs to be typed, double-spaced, using 12 Times New Roman, 12-point font, last name and page number in the upper right-hand corner of each page, 1-inch margins. You'll want to include formal MLA heading that consists of your name, my name, the course, and the due date for the assignment. You'll be graded based on all of these things and everything that is included in this rubric down here, and I'll allow you guys to read that on your own. But I want you to review this document here to make sure that you are achieving all of the requirements of this assignment. And I also want you to make sure that you are including the CSU Honor Pledge at the top of the first page. And then here is the rubric for how I will grade this. As you can see, my main focus is that you achieved the thesis or purpose of your argument. So that is the whole assignment. So it's going to be graded very harshly if you didn't achieve this. And these things are listed in order of importance. So the more important things being at the top and the less significant things being at the bottom, like, MLA citation and spelling and things like that, organization. Not to say that those things don't matter, but they are you'll be docked less points if some of those things aren't in place, versus if you don't have a thesis that achieves the purpose of your argument, you'll be docked, quite a few points. So that sort of is the basis of A3. And hopefully this all makes sense to you guys, but if you do have any questions about the assignment or its requirements, please do feel free to email me or post on the weekly discussion post. That's there for you guys to use. So with that being said, I'll wrap up Tuesday's lecture. Make sure to get that homework done, and I will talk to you all on Thursday.